This is Digivision Network.
This is Digivision Network with Byra Gabi. My name is Gideon Tubilaba. Today we are talking economics, purely economics, and we are doing that with the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budgets of Lagos State, talking about Honorable Commissioner Sam Egube. You are welcome to the show, Honorable Commissioner.
Thank you very much, Gideon. Nice to have me.
Okay, so before we start, we need you to let us know who Mr. Sam Egube is.
Okay, my name is Samuel Egube, and I'm, like you said, the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget. That's what I am. As Commissioner for Economic and Budget, we are primarily responsible for strategy, statewide resource allocation, right, is what we do, and then statewide performance management. So the job is a very extensive job. Therefore, if Lagos fails, Sam Egube will not be innocent in any way. If Lagos succeeds, and then Sam Egube will be part of that success.
Okay, you are leading with a lot of responsibility as the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning, which borders around monitoring and a lot of economic activities. How easy would you describe your job?
So the first way to understand the job and whether it is challenging or easy is to understand what Lagos really is. Lagos is the leading economy in Nigeria, is the gateway of Nigeria to the world, and is the world's gateway into Nigeria. In this space, you have almost 90 something, 98% of all the bank headquarters located. The oil companies are also here. You have one of the most enlightened set of people in one place in this country, in Lagos. Almost anybody that is somebody in Nigeria has some footprint in Lagos. You have some of the best and brightest people and institutions in Lagos. Therefore, if you are saddled with the responsibility for planning, right, and for resource allocation and performance management, in the midst of this very enlightened, demanding, analytical mindset, then certainly it's a very challenging assignment. The difference, though, is that we have Lagosians behind us, and so Lagosians actually participate in crafting the strategy, in managing performance. And so that capacity which you see in Lagos is extremely supportive of the Lagos state government, and therefore supportive of my work in delivering outcomes that make Lagosians happy.
Thank you very much for that response. For the sake of students and researchers, economic researchers, we would like to know, we've always heard that Lagos, if it were to be a country, would be the sixth largest economy in Africa. So how would you explain this, especially statistically?
Well, it's basically driven from the GDP, right? And Lagos, from a gross domestic product standpoint, creates economic activities, right, that are larger than most countries in Africa. And so when you try to evaluate the size of Lagos, it's a large market. It controls 70% of the air travels and the maritime business in Nigeria. First of all, understand that Nigeria is number one, right? And if Lagos is that space where a huge percentage of these economic activities is derived from or facilitated through, then it begins to tell you why Lagos, in terms of ranking, if it were a nation, looking at Africa, will rank that high. Lagos is that economic hub, and as we go into the African Continental Free Trade Zone, you begin to see the important role that Lagos will play in taking Nigeria into that economic zone and making sure that Nigeria, Lagos itself, becomes a hub. We are currently the leading supporter of, as a city of startups, right, in Africa, ahead of other known cities like Nairobi, like Cape Town, in Africa. Today, we are one of the largest markets, right, in the West African region. When you look at the amount of businesses we control that have to pass through Lagos, you then begin to see that Lagos plays a very significant role in the way Africa will evolve. So Africa cannot, just like when you talk about the black race, you can't talk about the evolution of the black race without talking about Africa. But Nigeria controls that population, and Lagos, with a population of about 27 million people, is actually the epicenter. And because of that, when you also see the challenges that come with it, when COVID was coming, Lagos was also the epicenter for it because of the air traffic control. Therefore, the kind of solution and the kind of thinking that comes out of Lagos is the kind that must be a symbol and a benchmark for Nigerian cities and African cities and global cities to try to work with. So we're not surprised when Fitch rating came, upgrading Lagos from a double A to a triple A rating on account of the resilience of our operating environment and our sustainability. Right, it's not surprising because of the kind of capacity that Lagos has, the kind of leadership led by Mr. Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, the strength of the cabinet that he has put together, and actually the overall support of Lagosians, right? Because the strength of every class is the strength of the minds and the people in that class. And I must say that is an exciting experience interacting with the cerebral capacity of the people of Lagos and the openness and leadership style of Mr. Governor in encouraging full expression of the capacities of the cabinet. And that is what we see when you see the translation of Lagos in Africa as a whole, as a high-ranking city center, a high-ranking state.
All right, thank you. Lagos, no doubt, is the commercial center for West Africa, no doubt. This means that they've been championing a lot of developmental causes. What are these specifically that you think other states in the Federation can learn from?
So development sometimes you might want to look at it only from infrastructure. But infrastructure alone is not what brings development. Sometimes it's the thinking. So you will see right from the time of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we started out championing the energy systems to say, look, we need to be able to provide power for our people. So you remember all the power systems that were generated at that time. You see us championing causes that speak to our federalism, right? You find us pushing ideas, right, that champion issues around our development, the development of our curricula, the development of our systems.
All right, thank you. Now let's talk about the pandemic. It struck and everybody was caught unawares. How did Lagos respond to this economically?
Okay, the response economically cannot be cannot be separated from the leadership, right, on all fronts. And what I would say is that we immediately set up what we call a command structure because we knew a lot of things would be disrupted. A business continuity plan we implemented. So it's about preparing for emergencies. And Lagos have gone through emergencies before. So when emergencies come, it's important that you learn from those emergencies and come out stronger. And therefore, you recall that at one point, Lagos went through an Ebola system and therefore had built certain forms of capacity. But the leadership of Mr. Babajide Olusola, as we knew that this was coming, it was not clear the level of disruption that will happen. We immediately had an emergency system, even in the leadership, right? We had powers given to what we call like a war cabinet, right, with the backing of full cabinet to say, listen, once you guys take a decision, right, around this thing, you can run with it. Right, we have a structure which Mr. Governor became the incident commander, and the Commissioner of Health became the deputy incident commander to basically drive policies and actions, right, that will help us get through the pandemic. So you will see the communication systems of Mr. Governor almost sometimes every day or every week, and the commissioner always giving the people information. It is born out of a system that once you carry the people along, right, you have a more robust system because you need that followership and that faith and trust. And Lagos demonstrated that trust in following Mr. Governor's leadership right through the entire COVID situation. The second thing that happened was very strong coordination, right? Lagos is not just about the Lagos state government, it's about the people of Lagos. So in the pandemic, we were able to open channels of communication with the private sector, channels of communication with the citizens at large. So you will see that the government, as a government, intervened very strongly, right? But also the people of Lagos, because they believed in the government, intervened also directly, right? And then you saw also spaces where the people of Lagos, combining with the government, intervened together. So it is that spirit of oneness, togetherness, led by Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, that actually galvanized that level of coordination. Listen, come to think about it, the resource that is available to the Lagos state government is probably less than 3% of what is available to the state in terms of the economic activity of the state. And therefore, except you are able to galvanize that cooperation with the private sector, you will not see incremental resources flowing into the state beyond the taxes that people pay. But to fight COVID, you needed much more than the resources of the state government. And we saw it coming from the people of Lagos. We saw it coming from the businesses in Lagos. We also saw it coming from the federal government, right? I mean, the federal government will not move for Lagos if they thought Lagos was not organized, Lagos was not forward-looking and was not capable of doing this. So all of this cooperation, coordination, and communication was what Mr. Governor calls the 3C, which he deployed and everybody followed, and is the reason why we have some of these great outcomes, which the World Health Organization does acknowledge and the international community also acknowledges. In fact, when Fitch, the international rating agency, rated Lagos, right, it upgraded Lagos to AAA, right, on account of the resilience of its operating environment. So all of these things I'm talking about actually speaks to resilience. We immediately also were able to have ESCO because we had the technology to be able to have ESCO remotely, while other countries, even in the West, were unable to do that. Right? Lagos was able to switch on cabinets very easily. The second thing also was that we created safe corridors. So in interacting with the private sector and interacting with the people of Lagos, we knew that there were certain sectors that were crucial, and we needed to ensure that their supply chain was less interrupted as much as possible. So we were able to design and create safe corridors for them to be able to move in and move out. We created specialized markets, controlled markets, so that people can at least buy food, right? We did many creative things to just make it work, so that the economy of Lagos does not drop or grind to a halt, so that governance and decision making does not get into a dark alley, right? Was what we were able to do under the leadership of Mr. Governor. And it showed out in every parameter. So, I mean, it's easy now when you look at the landscape and you see Mr. Governor getting a lot of awards. That is what leadership said. And we knew that as Lagos, we are going to be carrying a national body, right? Whatever we do not manage well in Lagos can become a disaster if we allow it go nationally. So that responsibility is the same reason why we keep saying that Nigerians should see Lagos as a national asset, right? And should accord Lagos that positioning, right? Because if Lagos thrives, we will be able to pull the nation, right, into a position of prosperity, right? Which is why it's important that all of this conversation about giving Lagos State a special status, allowing Lagos State have full expression in terms of state police, in terms of the security architecture, to just contribute and layer under the federal structure, right, will be extremely helpful. But this is exactly what happened during COVID. It's not like over yet, but we have gone through the first, the second, the third, and the fourth wave, and we have learned significantly in that process. And not only in the learning, we've also built capacity, right? We've built capacity in the health sector to be able to improve the services, right? And if you go to a lot of our public hospitals, general, you see that generally there's a significant improvement in the service, right, that are rendered out of that, right, in terms of the kind of welfare systems we give our doctors, our health professionals, the rehabilitation and renovation going on within those health sectors as health institutions, the equipping and the targeted training which we are giving to our health professionals is yielding outcomes that ensures the service level moves off a lot of notches, and also the deployment of technology. Soon we would be launching a technology system that ensures that if you go to one hospital, right, we'll be able to access your health data and health information. You don't have to go back to only one hospital. You never know where emergency meets you. And the push of the button, we should be able to, and that is also riding on the technology infrastructure that we're building.
This is a new year, 2022. What should Lagosians be expecting?
I think Lagosians are already beginning to see the snippets. Just recently, last 2 weeks, we bought the trains from Milwaukee in the US. That was not an easy thing. We're snatching an asset from the US economy, an asset that will have been of value to them, we're bringing to Lagos, right? So we expect that we'll begin to continue in terms of our infrastructure development. Everything we are doing is beginning to come together, right? We're beginning to see everything. When you go to the Koyi environment, you see all the network of roads we're doing there. I was passing in the night in the VI, in the Utilo area, and I could see the roads, right? Enlarged roads, lighting systems going on. You see the junction improvement in the Lekki area. You see us continuing. You see us continue very diligently on the Badagry Expressway. We want to be able to take at least bring a portion of it to conclusion, maybe take it up to Okuko, right, and then continue the other portions of it. You will see the health sector. We're about to just launch what I would call is a health hub, really, in the Awolowo area or Nikon area, right, which is a PPP arrangement with the Lagos State government. It's basically a medical hub that we shall be doing there. We are going to continue on the Mercy Children Hospital, which when completed will be one of the most equipped, sophisticated in sub-Saharan Africa in the Adeni-Adele axis there. We are continuing to rehabilitate a lot of our healthcare positions. Our technology infrastructure would have advanced very significantly this year because they are ahead of target. They are probably about 2,100 or 2,300 kilometers of fiber duct laying right now. So they are close to 3,000. And all the technology that will ride on that already is working. You will see an improvement in their educational performance. I've talked with the Commissioner for Education, and even though she's 80, is a very strong, it will be called the distinction rating. She wants to push it a little bit beyond 18 in terms of achieving a pass rate. So you see, as you improve things generally, you will see all of that. In the tertiary education, you will see us launch the technology university, right? Basically to then focus a lot on building the technical capability of our people. If the economy must increase, then our ability to respond cerebrally and to be forward-looking will continue to be stronger. Last week, will continue to get significant amounts of grants to support innovation, to support research, and it is driven also by private sector um, people driving that. We basically we called it the budget of consolidation. You saw the increase is a 1.75 trillion budget, right? And that is up from about 1.2. So it's a lot. 66% of that will be investment in capital expenditure. Right? So you see all of that in the road. We're going to be very heavy on internal roads. So you see PwC do quite a bit. So when we say we're moving from 333 budgetary allocation for infrastructure to 619, 86% is because we want to do all of that. But it's also a humanitarian environment, right? We have to also support human capital development. We had said from the beginning that we would also take on the vulnerable amongst us. So there are developments in the old people's homes. We are looking at our youth. We are building stadia, about 8 stadia, right, which we have started to just ensure our youths are engaged together with what we are doing in technology. In technology, we'll be doing about 30 billion in investment, which is up by about 27 billion. In the environment, when it comes to our drains, we'll also be doing quite a bit. And on our environment, we're moving it up to about 92 billion in investment in this budget, which is an increase of about 36 billion. You know, last year when you saw the floods coming globally, and you saw cities in the Netherlands, cities in Germany go down in flood, and Lagos, which normally goes down, did not go down. It was not because we were lucky. It was because we made investments in our drains. We ensured that we kept them flowing. We built and expanded new drains, and that was why Lagos was safe. We continue to push that agenda. I'm sure you see the improvement in the vehicular traffic in the Apapa area, which used to be a nightmare. Mr. Governor gave his commitment, and now trips that would normally take hours on end now take about 20, 26 minutes. And we are getting good feedback from the companies in those areas that we're almost giving up to say a new lease of life have moved there. That's not the end of it. We need to the capacity of the free zone and the deep sea port will also enable a more lasting solution to all of those Apapa challenge. We'll continue to push those agendas to just ensure that the greater Lagos, which Lagosians have always looked up to, they will see, they will embrace. It's not something for their children and their grandchildren. They too will see and taste of it. They too will ride on those rails when the rails are finally commissioned. They will see the fourth mainland come through. They will see they will see the power systems which we are working on. By the way, we are trying to create an alternative market, right, for power in Lagos. Lagos is big enough, and we are then saying let's challenge the system to see what we can do, working with the discos and working with other power contributors in terms of ideas around what to do around the power to just get things going. We will also heighten what we'll be doing in agriculture. One of the things that COVID taught us was that the high level of consumption of food in Lagos meant that if we do not protect the supply chain and we do not strengthen our storage capabilities, right, Lagos can easily run out of food. And that's why we are conceptualizing a major market system, right, in addition to the which will ride on the agri master plan, the 5-year plan, which was launched recently. But above that, Lagos is not a short-term undertaking. So from economic planning, where the state is beginning to work on a 30-year Lagos State economic development plan, right? The first one, which was 2012 to 2022, right? We'll be replacing it this year with a 30-year long range. We must plan long. We must look at the sectors that will deliver the kind of growth that is required to make Lagos that economic and financial hub that will not be overlooked globally, right? We must have those long range plan, um, develop those sectors, expand the physical planning area. So we are not dealing with just one central Lagos. Ekpe will have a significant development. The Badagry axis will have significant development. The population of Lagos will be redistributed from a centralized operating market space. We intend also to work on the revenue base because at the end of the day, really, all of these things are driven by revenue. When they say Lagos is resilient, it's because of our ability also to improve our revenue streams. And we'll continue to work on that to look for pockets of revenue sources. Minute, and we are getting good feedback from the companies in those areas that we're almost giving up to say a new lease of life have moved there. That's not the end of it. We need to the capacity of the free zone and the deep sea port will also enable a more lasting solution to all of those Apapa challenge. We'll continue to push those agendas to just ensure that the greater Lagos, which Lagosians have always looked up to, they will see, they will embrace. It's not something for their children and their grandchildren. They too will see and taste of it. They too will ride on those rails when the rails are finally commissioned. They will see the fourth mainland come through. They will see they will see the power systems which we are working on. By the way, we are trying to create an alternative market, right, for power in Lagos. Lagos is big enough, and we are then saying let's challenge the system to see what we can do, working with the discos and working with other power contributors in terms of ideas around what to do around the power to just get things going. We will also heighten what we'll be doing in agriculture. One of the things that COVID taught us was that the high level of consumption of food in Lagos meant that if we do not protect the supply chain and we do not strengthen our storage capabilities, right, Lagos can easily run out of food. And that's why we are conceptualizing a major market system, right, in addition to the which will ride on the agri master plan, the 5-year plan, which was launched recently. But above that, Lagos is not a short-term undertaking. So, from economic planning, where the state is beginning to work on a 30-year Lagos State economic development plan, right? The first one, which was 2012 to 2022, right? We'll be replacing it this year with a 30-year long range. We must plan long. We must look at the sectors that will deliver the kind of growth that is required to make Lagos that economic and financial hub that will not be overlooked globally, right? We must have those long-range plan, develop those sectors, expand the physical planning area. So we are not dealing with just one central Lagos. Ekpe will have a significant development. The Badagry axis will have significant development. The population of Lagos will be redistributed from a centralized operating market space. We intend also to work on the revenue base because at the end of the day, really, all of these things are driven by revenue. When they say Lagos is resilient, it's because of our ability also to improve our revenue streams. And we'll continue to work on that to look for pockets of revenue sources that will increase our ability to respond. We're also working on what we call a sovereign wealth. It's not a sovereign, a state wealth fund. Right. Soon we're working on it very aggressively. We believe that this year we should be able to pass the law. That way we're able to respond very strongly when emergencies come from a funding perspective, because we'll be able to have improved our saving and be able to strengthen also our ability to leverage our determination to build infrastructure in the state. Those are things we should look forward to. We are improving the performance management mechanisms also of Lagos so that when we say we will do things, we have the systems internally to ensure that we monitor for performance and for value.
Wow, that is very enlightening. Thank you very much for your time, Honorable Commissioner Sam Egube.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
For having me.
That was Mr. Sam Egube, the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Lagos State, talking to us about a lot of issues. If you have missed it, just go to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/DGVision Network to catch up with what you have missed. Until I come your way again next week, my name is Gideon Tobelaba. Bye for now.